Came into the house to get these posts, measure them up for the holes I'm making outside, to discover a massive puddle of tree sap on my stairs from the wood that I rested there. Let me show you. I quite often put it on the stairs because it's a long area and it manages to store long pieces of wood that are, 2.4, 3+ meters long. But now I have a little tree poop on my stairs, on my carpet. You know how some people buy things and you're like, how much did that cost you? That's insane. I would never spend that. That makes no sense to me. But then you yourself might do the same thing with a different type of product. Maybe you're into computer consoles and you get the new one every time it comes out. Perhaps you always upgrade to the new mobile phone when it comes out. Because it's like, well, obviously, I love these things. These things are important to me. I spend money on them because I love it and it makes me super happy. For me, that's this carpet. I bought this carpet despite the fact that I could have picked one up for 30 quid because I love the brand, I love the manufacturer, I love the fact that it's made in the UK, I love the style, and this carpet cost me nearly £1,000. And now it has tree sap on it. But this is what I'm talking about. These are the DIY disasters that come up all the time that you don't see on social media. You see the before, you see the after, and none of the hardship in between. I'm going to have to stop the project that I'm working on this afternoon so that I can clear this mess up. It's fine. It's fine, I'm not even sad about it. I just did a little Google and apparently rubbing alcohol works quite well. I'm going to have to test it on the underside first because I don't know how rubbing alcohol will react with the wool or the colour in the wool. So I'm going to test a discrete area first to make sure it doesn't rub off any of the colour or it doesn't do something else strange and unusual to the wool. But first of all, I need to move all of this wood. I'm going to put it here on the floor. I've removed my rug that I also like. Can't trick me twice. Bloody tree sap. I bought this for no particular reason. I just kept seeing rubbing alcohol being used for so many different applications. And I thought, well, maybe I'll pick it up and it might come in useful one day. And here we are, trying to clear up tree poop. Look at that. That massive puddle. It's pretty though, isn't it? Looks like honey. I'm going to go underneath here and test it out on this side. Don't fancy my chances doing this one-handed, but doesn't immediately look like any issues. I'm scrubbing it because I want to know if it changes the colour. I'm going to leave that to dry and see what comes up before trying to remove that. Even though I successfully managed to use my electric saw to cut off the end of this screw, the thread was still catching on the wood inside, and that meant it wasn't coming out of the wall. So instead, I got in behind there with the electric saw and cut this screw in half. And now that's done, I'm going to be able to use this to leverage out this area here. I could dig this out, but this is just a little bit easier as a way to pull it out. Yeah, I can already feel that loosening really well. I don't like. My goodness. It's taken me days and days to even pull this thing apart. It's a lot of effort. This is a massive job that I've taken on. Isn't that always the way though? You think it will take a very short amount of time and quite often they don't. Now it's time for me to take the rest of this out. I'm going to collect together some rubble sacks which I will put this waste material into, and then this will be taken down the recycling centre. Okay, here we go. This is what we're going to do. I found that using the rubbing alcohol on a different part of the carpet didn't stain it, didn't seem to cause any problems. So we're going to use this. But to get up most of the sap, first I'm going to gently scrape up what I can with this knife and wipe it on this towel. Oh, it's like treacle. It's forbidden treacle. I mustn't eat it. No. Being careful not to spread it any further than it already is. Okay, that might be all I can get up actually without scraping it and making too much of a mess. Am I getting some of the fibres there too? Okay. Now time, rubbing alcohol. I'm just going to stick a bit on this pad. This pad actually came with this product. So it's, what's it called when it's not got fibres on it? Fibreless. Great, now I'm covered in tree sap. Just trying to do this nice and gently. I don't want to spread it any further, but I also don't want to cause too much disruption to the wool. If I was to rub this very aggressively, it would all, it would all felt together, because that's how wool works. I'm just going to dab it in there. I can already tell that the majority of the sap has come off, so this is obviously working quite well. And I'm intrigued to know what the outcome will be in terms of the coloration. As you can see, it's a little bit different there. Once this has been fully applied, I'm going to try and dab out with water some of the rubbing alcohol. The consistency of this rubbing alcohol is really quite nice. It feels not sort of like soap, but like, I don't know, tree sap kryptonite. I can't really work out how to describe it. Interested to see what the back of this feels like. That's actually a bit loose. I shouldn't be able to put my hand under there. I'm going to tighten that. Oh, it still feels a tiny bit sticky, so I'm going to get a new pad and I'm going to keep going. Oh, okay, there must be something in this that's making me sneezy. I feel like this is more of a dab job than it is a rubbing. So the reason that if you rub it, it felts is because wool is a natural fibre, and if you were to look at the fibres underneath a microscope, you would find that it looks a bit like a long tree with little branches poking out. And when you rub two of those pieces together, imagine they all have a little bit sticking out, you rub them together, they get all entangled and they stop being able to move. And that's how you create felt. You create felt from wool. Now that doesn't feel sticky anymore. I'm going to get a wet cloth and I'm going to dab it. This flannel is quite wet. That's because I want there to be a lot of moisture to dab through. If it's too dry, there won't be enough. So being quite liberal and generous with this. I feel like it needs to be wetter. don't know if you can see that, but there is some slight, you can see the slight movement of the, slight raising of the fibres, which is to be expected because of what I'm doing to it. I've wet it again to do a little bit more, this time making the flannel a little bit more moist. This kind of causes the rubbing alcohol to not only dilute, but also to kind of seep through to the other side. And that's what we want, because then it won't be visible. Making quite a lot of this very wet. We're gonna leave this to dry, which hopefully will take about 2.4 seconds in this current heat wave. Okay, let's leave that there.
This corner was definitely the most challenging to remove. I'm trying all sorts of ways to create some sort of movement, but it's not budging at all. And unlike the one that I removed earlier, I'm not able to use any leverage on this to pull it out of place because the stump is too short. No, the way to get this one out wasn't any special tricks. This was all about persistence. I thought maybe that had done it, but that was just the top layer. This concrete block is absolutely huge, and even when partially dug out, it was still stuck in there. But I knew from experience the trick was going to be finding a way to wiggle it out. And I was going to do this by sticking the fork underneath and pressing my foot on the top. This back and forth causes it to loosen slowly over time. It's about 30 degrees outside, and let me tell you, I am absolutely sweating. I've sped up this video 55 times. It actually took me a couple of hours to get even this far to pulling this piece out. I hoped that with the post removed, it would make removing the rest of the concrete block a little bit easier. A little while later, I'd managed to manoeuvre it enough for the final push.
Oh my goodness.
And when I could see that it was moving, I was so relieved. Having this corner finally come out was nothing short of a spiritual experience. I've been praying to gods that before today I didn't even believe in.
I need a different job.
So the great news is, this entire deck has now been removed. I levelled out the floor and scraped off all of the big stones. I filled in some of that corner. Because if I fill it in, I can carve out another hole tomorrow that is closer to the size that I want for the new post. As it currently stands, it's just too large. And that's the reason that I'm watering the ground, so I can stamp it down and compact it. But it was quite a messy job, and my boots did get very, very muddy. My stairs are still drying, so I'll show you the results tomorrow. Well, that and, you know, the deck thing. But just before I go, here's something magical I want to share with you.
Ladies and gents, please give a big round of applause to all of our finalists tonight in the Creative Startup of the Year. To announce the winner, please can you welcome Colin Ralph.
If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel.